Good morning. Hope you guys are having a good week. It's midway, and this is an exciting week for us because we got a lot of change happening this week. So it's busy, but it's good. So today I want to read from chapter 13, which is entitled, God Speaks in the Darkest and the Most Difficult Times. Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose. It was 11:58 p.m. on May 17th, 2017, a day I will never forget. It was a day I believe the enemy wanted to destroy our future. He did not realize he was messing with the wrong family. He was messing with a family of warriors who will not give up and will not be swayed by difficult circumstances. What would have made some people shrink back and quit stirred a new passion and desire to fulfill the purposes of God in our lives. This story actually starts 3 years earlier. My husband and I have always desired to live out on a piece of land. It was a dream I had since I was a little girl. We had our house in the city on the market for a year before we finally sold it. Over that year, we had been looking for property to purchase. We had put a few conditional offers on properties, but they always fell through because our house would not sell. Once our house sold, we did not have any place lined up to move into. It was a quick possession date, only 45 days. We had to find a place quickly. We had looked at all the listings within our desired distance, and nothing suited our need or price range. One night, I heard God speak, "Laura, you need to widen your search." We'd only been looking at properties within 30 kilometers of the city limits. That evening, Doug and I widened our search to 50 kilometers of the city limits. The options were limited, but one property stood out. Once again, our criteria was something that was a dump that we could invest our talents into to increase the value. Shortly after expanding our search, we found something very intriguing. On a Sunday afternoon, we took a road trip to look at the property. As we drove up, we saw that it was like a dump. It had not been cared for in a long time. As we walked through the house, we noticed mold everywhere. I wondered, how could this family live here? It's not healthy. Doug was smitten with the project. All he could see was how he could transform it. I was not sure. It was a far bigger project than we had ever taken on before. I did not feel comfortable purchasing it at the listed price. If they were willing to sell it for a much lower price, giving us more money to do the necessary renovations, then I would consider it. Doug and I discussed what our offer should be. After much discussion, we agreed to put in an offer for $150,000 under the listed price. We had not known this previously, but the property had been on the market for 9 years. It had first been listed for $950,000 and had been lowered many times since then. It was listed for $615,000, and we put in an offer for $465,000. I was shocked when our offer was accepted. I guess they were in the process of foreclosure, and this sale would clear off all debts and leave them with some money to spare. Wow, we had just purchased a 10-acre property that had a 900-square-foot home that was a teardown. We needed to be out of our current home in 1 month. From the outside, this probably looked like the biggest mistake of our lives. We were moving out of our 4,000-square-foot home in the city to a piece of land with essentially no home. We had to come up with a solution quickly. The only one we could make work out in such a short time was to purchase a travel trailer. For the next 5 months, we lived in that travel trailer with 4 boys while we completely gutted the house and built on a small addition. It was exceedingly difficult living in that trailer. My parents came once a week to bring us potable water and take our clothes to be washed. It was an adventure for our kids, but to my husband and I, it was a time of survival. Doug would work 8 to 10 hours every day in his landscape business, and then come home and do renovations for a few hours before crashing into bed, just to begin it all over again the next morning. In September of 2014, we were now moving into our newly renovated house, even though all the details were not fully completed. Those we would continue to do over the fall and winter months, which were approaching very quickly. There are so many details to this part of the story, but I will try to stay focused on the point that I'm trying to make. After a year of us moving to this land, Doug came to me and said he wanted to get chickens. I thought he had gone mad. We were not farmers. What was he thinking? What I have come to realize about my husband is that once he has a vision about something, it's only a matter of time before it becomes reality. For me, reality hit when the first shipment of day-old chicks arrived at our post office box. I had to learn quickly how to become a chicken farmer. We converted an old abandoned garage into a barn for the animals. We slowly got more animals. By this time, we had chickens that laid eggs, chickens for meat, turkeys, and we were also starting to raise rabbits. Oh yeah, I can't forget about the 3 sheep and a llama that my husband purchased for his birthday. This farm was growing faster than I could keep up. We had done so much to develop our land, converted the garage into a barn, created pens, shelters, fenced grazing areas. We also built a greenhouse structure off the side of the barn for growing our plants for landscaping jobs. We had our greenhouses full of beautiful plants. We were into our second growing season of all of our animals and our plants. A family we knew that was going through a difficult time. They needed refuge, and they had come to stay with us through that fall, winter, and spring. They stayed in our trailer just like we had done when we first moved here. They were troopers to live in there through the winter. Around this time, my friend who was staying in our trailer rushed into our house at 11:58 p.m. screaming, "The barn is on fire." We were woken with a startle, and we jumped out of bed quickly to realize the severity of her screams. The barn was fully engulfed in flames and was spreading into the greenhouses. Immediately, we called 911 to get help from the fire department. They instructed us to stay away from the fire and not try to put it out. Although that was good advice, we could not do that. Our animals were in there. My husband and Megan's husband Dan ran into the burning barn, pulling all the bunny hutches away from the fire. They also went to the back of the barn to see if the hens had made it out. The rooster was standing in the door of the barn to keep them from going back into the barn. We opened the gate to let them out. That was such a traumatic night. We lost 90 animals, as well as all of our plants for the landscape business. We were able to rescue a few hens, 1 rooster, a couple of rabbits from the fire. Our sheep and our llama were okay because they were in a different pen. Because we do not live close to the city, the fire trucks had to come loaded with water. It took 8 fire trucks full of water to put out the fire. When the fire was finally put out, there was nothing left except for a half-burnt roof of the outdoor chicken shelter. The point of this story is not to focus on the devastation of what happened, but how God was with us through it all. How God spoke to us through these events and helped comfort us and our children. One of our sons asked, "Why do we do anything if it all gets destroyed anyways?" He was so upset thinking the animals suffered in the fire. That weekend we went to church. I was scheduled to speak that day, and our pastor asked if I wanted to postpone my talk. I said, no, I believe we're still supposed to speak this week. So my husband and I came and presented our message of hope during great tragedy. No matter what the enemy tries to do to bring us harm, we will not quit. It will not destroy us, but will only make us stronger and more determined. We declared to our church, we will rebuild. Satan has messed with the wrong family. After we had finished speaking, everyone prayed for us. Some of them had prophetic words for us. All of the words were very impactful, but one in particular was very timely and brought much peace. A lady and her daughter happened to be visiting that day. She said that as we were telling our story, God gave her a vision that he wanted her to share with us. She saw that someone in our family was very grieved with sorrow over the animals and what they experienced in the fire. God had wanted her to tell us a message. She said God showed her that the animals did not suffer at all. She said she saw a picture of Jesus. He was wearing jeans, cowboy boots, and a cowboy hat. He was walking through the fire very calmly with a piece of hay in his teeth. He was comforting all of the animals. None of them suffered. We brought our son in, who was upset about the animals, to hear what she had to say. It was very healing and brought peace to my heart, to his and my heart, as I also felt bad for the animals. I could just imagine how terrible it would have been. What God spoke through this woman brought great comfort. Jesus was with the animals in the fire. The next day, we started the cleanup process. My husband was reflecting on the night of the fire. He remembered how the rooster was standing in the doorway and refused to let the hens back into the fire. Then God spoke to him, and he said, sometimes people get angry at the rooster because it's loud and cocky. But he's just doing his job. He is there to protect his girls. This is exactly what he was willing to do when the fire was happening. He was willing to lose his life so that he could save a life of the hens. What an amazing picture of Jesus. Jesus stood in the door of the fire so that we would not be condemned to death and hell. Jesus was willing to take the sin of the whole world upon himself and offer salvation to all who believe in him. It was such a profound picture that God gave to my husband. God spoke one other thing to us in this experience. Earlier that week, we had one chicken that had been accidentally stepped on and was injured. We had brought him inside the house to recover, so the chicken was not in the barn when it went up in flames. As we reflected on this fact, God spoke gently. Sometimes people wonder why they're put on the sidelines. Because this bird was injured, he was being tended to. He was spared from the fire. Sometimes the things we perceive as a setback or a wrong path on our journeys are just an opportunity for God to bring us healing and save us from something that could cause us more harm. This has given us a new perspective. No matter what you're going through right now, even if you feel like it's keeping you from where you should be, remember that God will allow detours in your life to protect you from things that would harm you. If you're in a season of detour right now, have the courage to ask God where he is, even in this. I can guarantee you that he is working in the place that you find yourself right now. There's nothing wasted, nothing God will not use for your good. What would have been perceived as a great setback for our family was a catalyst to a fresh start. We received an insurance settlement to help us rebuild a new barn and new shelters for our ever-expanding farm. It keeps growing every year. I cannot even imagine now a life of not being a farmer. I want to encourage you to look for God in even the most traumatic and devastating circumstances. God does not cause these events to happen, but he promises to be with us through each and every one of them. We see so many examples of this in the Bible. God was with the Israelites as they escaped from Egypt, with the parting of the Red Sea, and with the 3 Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace, and Daniel in the lion's den. Sometimes it's easy to assume that these are just cute Bible stories, but they're not just folk tales. These events happened, and I believe that similar examples of God's faithfulness happen every single day. No matter what you're facing, know that you're not alone. God is with you. He wants to bring you comfort and peace. He will use these things meant for your harm as something for your good every single time. That day was a difficult day, and the losses we had were significant. And, God showed himself faithful. He showed himself to be our protector. And one detail of that night that's not in this book is it was a very windy night. And normally the winds blow southeast on our property. But this particular night, I believe God allowed the wind to be blowing north in a northerly direction. And why is that important? Because had it been blowing the way that it normally blows, that fire would have caught our trees and then our house. And, God spared our house from this fire. And, we are ever so thankful. And, sometimes we go through difficulties. We go through extreme circumstances. Life throws us curveballs that we don't expect. The enemy creates problems to try to discourage us and cause us to lose hope. But God is there through it all. He promises to never leave us. He promises to never forsake us. And he will provide a way through it. He will turn it into something good. And, what the enemy meant for destruction that day, to cause us to quit building our dream, God allowed it to be something that we could use to rebuild. Rebuild it his way. Rebuild it in the way that we wanted. And, here we are, a few years later, 6 or 7 years later, and what we have built on this land is amazing. And, it's all because of God. It's all because of his faithfulness. It's all because of his care towards us. And so even if you're right now going through extreme circumstances, very difficult things, don't lose sight of the fact that God is there. He's working on your behalf. Look for him. Be aware. And ask God to reveal some things to you. Ask him to show you. Show him what he's doing. Show that he would show you where he is, what he's saying, what he's, doing through those circumstances so that it can turn into something good for you. And never lose hope. Never lose hope. Don't let the enemy tell you that this is the end of it all, because there is so much more. And I believe that no matter what you're going through, God can turn it around. He can turn it into something good, something for your future. So, Father, I just thank you for your faithfulness. I thank you for your loving care and how you never leave us or forsake us. Thank you for your word that promises us that you will turn everything that the enemy means for harm into something good in our life. And so, Lord, I pray that our perspectives could shift. I pray in the difficult times, in the circumstances that seem just so out of control, I pray that we would look for you. I pray that we would see you in the midst of those things. Lord, reveal to us what you're doing. Reveal to us how you're changing these things into something for our good. Speak to us through those little moments like you did for us with that chicken on the sidelines and that rooster standing in the fire. Lord, all of those things you spoke so clearly to us. And Lord, I pray you'd speak to everyone who listens to this, that you would show them where you are right now in their difficult circumstance, and that they would not lose hope, and that they would believe that you are working something out on their behalf that will be good, that will be better than what they're experiencing. So Lord, I just pray you would rise faith in their heart today. I speak hope over their minds and their hearts, that they would not partner with hopelessness. They would not partner with the enemy and his schemes and believe his report that this is the end. There's nothing left. There's nothing else. That's a lie. He wants us to quit. He wants us to not pursue the dreams that you have in our hearts. So Lord, I pray today for an infusion of hope, an infusion of truth that would spur us all on to say, you know what? I am never going to quit. No matter how many times I fall down, I'm going to get right back up. And the enemy will not triumph over me. Just pray all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, I pray you have a very blessed day, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.